Hello and welcome to week 14 of our lecture in Living in the IT Era. For this week, we will be talking about IT control and privacy. The essential questions for this lecture is what is information control and privacy for our intended learning outcomes? We will discuss the difference between privacy and security, explain various risks to internet privacy, and tackle the issues on information control and privacy with reference to the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines and the Data Privacy Act of 2012. Information as a resource. So we all know that resource is something that can be used in order for us to process or manufacture other things. Now, information is considered as a resource. Is it is about following or allowing those who have appropriate authority access to and use of information on the basis of the authority that they hold. So depending on what particular authority, for example, in accessing data, they could either view the data, add, edit, delete, or update information, okay, depending on what particular access rights they have. Software piracy. According to the Business Software Alliance in 2018, unauthorized copying or distribution of copyrighted software can be done through copying, downloading, sharing, selling, or installing multiple copies of software onto personal or work computers. Examples of software piracy are an organization or business that is using or installing more software than it has licenses for, using one license on many computers, using hack or crack software in the organization being reported, using unlicensed software from any other source, a physical distributor who markets or sells unlicensed software, a storefront engaged in face-to-face or telephone-based sales, or a computer repair shop that may be installing unlicensed software. Issues that complicate information control. First is convergence, next is scale, then volume, and unprecedented individual empowerment. Convergence. When we say the term convergence, we are referring to how things are interconnected in order to achieve one particular end goal. So in the case of this example, platform convergence in the dawn of transmedia channels. So we can see how all of these particular devices have evolved into a more compact and more complete device. So for example, a gaming device, touch or music device have been compacted or have been introduced in the form of a tablet or a smartphone. So through the convergence of different devices, all of their functionalities have been merged into one particular device or have evolved into one particular device. When we say scale, scale is how big and small information is distributed. Okay. When we say volume, volume is the amount or how many that particular information is distributed and used. So a good example would be through social media, wherein by liking or sharing a particular post or information, you are increasing the volume of persons that are seeing that particular post or information. Then lastly, unprecedented individual empowerment. So through the advent of social media, we have seen different personalities emerge as sort of like internet celebrities, wherein they may not be familiar with the traditional media such as television or radio, but we have we can see them often, and through their numerous followers, they can influence different persons' thinking and behavior. Intellectual property. Republic Act of 82 Republic Act 8293. It is an act prescribing the Intellectual Property Code and establishing the Intellectual Property Office, providing for its powers and functions and for other purposes otherwise known as the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines. Intellectual property includes copyright, trademarks and service marks, geographic indications, industrial designs, patents, and layout designs. So the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines website is ipo.phil.gov.ph. Copyright. It is a set of exclusive rights granted by a state to the creator of an original work of their assignee for a limited period of time in exchange for public disclosure of the work and includes the right to copy, distribute, and adapt the work. Copyright eligibility may include novels, poems, plays, reference works, newspapers, advertisement, computer programs, databases, films, musical compositions, choreography, paintings, drawings, photographs, sculpture, architecture, maps, and technical drawings. There are prohibitions in the form of printed form reproduction, sound recording reproduction, public performance and communication to the public, broadcasting, translation into other languages, and adaptation, for example, novel to a screenplay or a film. So copyleft is antipodal or the reverse to copyright. It grants the right to freely copy, distribute, and transform creative works without infringing the author's rights. Fair use. Copyrighted material can be used without permission but very limited and specific. For example, commentary and criticisms and parody, particularly in movies. Digital rights is the permission granted to individuals to legitimately perform actions involving the use of a computer, an electronic device, or a communication network. Digital rights management used to describe the process by which the author or publisher of a work exerts his or her rights to control what the purchaser of the work is entitled to do. Techniques to control access and reproduction of online information. It includes encryption, which is the process of converting data or information in such a way that only authorized parties can understand. Its primary purpose is to protect the confidentiality of digital data stored in a computer system or transmitted by the internet or other computer networks. Serial keys, also known as product or software key, is a series of alphanumeric characters acting as a key to denote the product or software is original. In some cases, product keys are used for product activation. Scrambling. Data scrambling is done to hide sensitive information from unauthorized users. It's accomplished by the addition of components to the original signal or the changing of some important component of the original signal in order to make extraction of the original signal difficult. This is often done with the aid of encryption. Lastly, tag embedding. Similar to how pictures can include watermarks to denote information on the owner of the picture, it does the same to information content. Watermarks are not completely RM mechanisms in their own right, but they are used as part of a system for copyright enforcement, such as helping provide prosecution evidence for legal purposes rather than direct technological restriction. Metadata is included to identify the owner's name, author, and date of purchase, among other pertinent information. Patent. It is a set of exclusive rights granted by a state to an inventor for a limited period of time in exchange for the public disclosure of an invention. Trademark is a distinctive use sign used by an individual, business organization, or other legal entity to identify the products or services to consumers. The mark comes with a unique source and it distinguishes its product or trademark or service mark from the others. So examples are the logos that you see here, which are considered as trademark. Industry secrets. Industries and companies need to have information control, especially in dealing with sensitive industry secrets, or also known as trade secrets. Companies usually require employees to sign contracts with non-disclosure agreements or NDAs. Information privacy. Considered an important aspect of information sharing, it relates to different types of data, including internet privacy, online, financial, and medical privacy. Cookie, a small file stored in the computer's directory, often a temporary folder containing addresses of websites visited, login credentials, and even credit card account numbers. So cookies, you usually see this in websites that you visit. Some websites actually has a disclaimer that they want to use or store cookies in your computer. Usually, these cookies are often used for targeted advertising in order for them to create accounts of different products or websites or information that you have visited. So data privacy advice for businesses, integrate training on data privacy, take advantage of free security tools, monitor your networks for suspicious activity, don't underestimate hackers' interests, and implement the zero trust model. Now for consumers, use multi-factor authentication, be wary of IoT devices, back up our data often, and keep an eye out for odd requests. The Data Privacy Act, RA 10173, signed and approved by President Benigno Aquino III on August 15, 2012. This law defines sensitive personal information as being about an individual's race, ethnicity, marital status, age, color, religion, philosophical or political affiliations, about an individual's health, education, genetic or sexual life of a person, or to any proceeding or any offense committed or alleged to have committed, issued by government agencies peculiar or unique to an individual, such as social security number, and marked as classified by an executive order or an act of Congress. All processing of sensitive and personal information is prohibited except in certain circumstances, which are consent of the data subject, pursuant to law that does not require consent, necessity to protect the life and health of a person, necessity for medical treatment, and necessity to protect the lawful rights of data subjects in court proceedings or regulation. Security incident is an event or occurrence that affects or tends to affect data protection or may compromise availability, integrity, or confidentiality. Personal data breach is a subset of security breach that actually leads to accidental or unlawful destruction, loss, alteration, unauthorized disclosure, or access to personal data transmitted, stored, or otherwise processed. So that is our lecture for this week about data control and privacy. Thank you.